So hello friends, how are you? And in this video we are going to talk about what is no serialization and where to use this. But before going to use this, let's understand how basically Qwik application works. By default, all of the data that is being rendered at the first initialization of your application is serialized. Okay, so basically by default Qwik worked with the concept of serialization, and all of that what we have to understand is like this. Suppose there we have a lot of code. For example, here we have our parent component, here we have our child component. When we had imported many things from that Qwik builder dot Qwik dot whatever, right? So the thing is, whenever you first render the component, basically it doesn't fetch all these JavaScript code. Okay, so basically what it fetch at initial its first rendering is an HTML template. Okay, so that is what we call serialization, right? So basically what the Qwik application do with this code, it just going to convert the whole code into some HTML format. Okay, and our application will have that HTML template, that HTML code, and as we had received that HTML, that whole HTML concept of HTML and CSS code, it at client side your device doesn't have to do anything with it, right? And doesn't have to configure or hydrate your object, but basically simply going to display whatever it receive, right? So that is how in Qwik application works. So you may be wondering, okay, then how this function will work as if it is a pure HTML kind of thing, right? So basically there we have this JavaScript, there we have this JavaScript. On click we have to do this. So how well does this JavaScript will work? So actually Qwik handle this in smaller chunks, right? So basically what it does, it initially doesn't require all this JavaScript which is which is not required for the rendering part, right? So whenever an user interact with this button, for example when a button click on this button, only then this part of the JavaScript is being downloaded, and that is what we call resumability, right? So Qwik application works with the concept of resumability, right? And that is what the resumability. So the resumability simply means that for the JavaScript part of the code which is not required at the very initial rendering, or you can easily say, or you can say that for the interaction of the user with your application, it requires some JavaScript code, right? So that small chunk of the code, or the JavaScript code, is being just creating a reference to that endpoint. Okay, so that means whenever you click this button, it will call to the server, and from the server it will get the required JavaScript to execute this piece of the code, or to execute this functionality. Okay, so that is what a Qwik does. Instead, with the other application or the other frameworks, what basically happens at that initial rendering of your component, it also downloaded all the JavaScript files that is required for your whole application to be interactive. Okay, but Qwik doesn't do that. So that is why we call that Qwik doesn't works with concept of the hydration. Basically it works with the concept of resumability. Okay, so basically it does what it does, it just basically create a reference point. Okay, that here we have a reference point, okay, to for where to look at whenever some user click on this button. So we just make an API request, okay, a kind of API request, and from then we get the required data to make this functionality work, and then our application executes each and everything. That is how the Qwik application works, right? And that is what we call serialization. So by default, all of the code that we have in our application is serialized, right? So serialized means it is basically an HTML. Okay, so for any further JavaScript, we basically call the server and get the code, and then further execute, right? So no serialization is what So as we just read, so some of the frameworks, some of the modules or the libraries or the third party libraries basically not work with serialized data. Okay, so for those kind of libraries you can use no serialization. Okay, so that code is also going to work with our application, right? So that is what the concept of no serialization is. So for example, for any third party library which does not basically serialize all its data and does not works with that serialized data, or the serialized format or the concept of resumability, you can even though import that library into your component and use that by using this no serialization function, which you have to import from Qwik library, right? Okay, so let's understand this. Let's try to understand the concept and how we are using this no serialization. So as you see this, we what we have imported from this Qwik module or the Qwik library is our component that is going to create our component, this use store that is to, and this use signal to manage the store data, and finally no serialization, which we are just going to see how it works, and the final the use visible task. Okay, so use visible task is also a kind of a recomputational, okay, and recomputational value to return something new to our application. Okay, and as you can see, as we had also imported a Monaco or a Monaco editor. So these Monaco and so this Monaco is the type, and this Monaco editor is the functionality, that is that module that we had imported from this Monaco library, right? And this Monaco editor is basically works with no serialization. Okay, so that is not works with serialized data, right? So in such cases, if I just want to use this Monaco instance or Monaco editor, I have to use this no serialization tag. Okay, so I just use this no serialized and then editor, then pass whatever the function I want to use in our application, so that our application will understand that this data is not serialized by default, and I have to handle this, right? So that's how you can use no serialized what I can say, no serialized module, no serialized method in your Qwik application, right? So as of now, I think now you have an better understanding of how this no serialization work, and if you are willing to read further, you may refer to this Monaco editor to understand how this no serialization works with Monaco editor and all, right? And you can also visit this resumability property of a Qwik application, so that you can understand the concept of resumability if you are not aware of it, right? So as of now, I am just going to quit this video here, and see you in our next video. Till then, have a nice day and goodbye.